bad guy. If you can remember all of the lectures, everything was related to that. Bella and the cat. Okay, now, y'all know the story of Bella and the cat. All the animals got together, and the cat that was eating, the big animal eating up everybody. So they said, we gotta stop this. What are we gonna do? They had a big meeting. They finally decided to put a bell out. Even if I tell it 100 times, it's still new to me. Yeah, so anyway, they're gonna put a bell around the cat, like a cowbell or something that makes noise. So he won't be able to catch nobody and eat him up. So that's what we're doing with the system. That's what we've been doing all the time, telling everybody, this is boss man right here. Here you come. Here come boss man. Oh, y'all having a demonstration? Well, this is the kind of demonstration that is. Guess what? It always came out like that. Why? Because we're telling everybody, this is what you're having. All the stuff they're having day in and day out. It's because that's our job, to tell everybody. And it just so happens we live through it. We stay alive. And we may not get $150 million. Shoot, we may get it more than that, according to what we want to. Well, we may get 100 million. Suppose we have a bad day and get 25 or 30 million. That's going to be terrible. But we'll be able to live with that. Yeah. Sure we will. But how do we figure out we're going to get it? He's going to surround us, and we ain't going to be able to get it ourselves. And you sell a lot of books to get this kind of money, right? So what are we going to do? Why not get it from him? Psychological guerrilla warfare. Why not trap him into doing all of the stuff that he did? Why not trap him into doing it? He did it. It's on the record, right? He can't get away from it. He did all of that stuff. All of it is illegal. Then he had FBI come in here at different times. Them people have showed up that they know. I can record. This is where they were. This is what happened. This is what they said. You shouldn't go out to Oakland. Da-da-da-da-da. So we bailed the cat. Without a planned strategy, we are subject to wherever the winds of change take us. We surrender our determination and limit ourselves to prevalent trends, currents, and circumstances. One thing we learned in jail is that you can have a plan, and actually you can do the plan. We learned from Oakland. They came, my same friends that come down there in South America, they came to lead me away from movement. That's what the easing into drugs. Every time when I got cases and I was in retirement a little, when I was ready to come out of retirement, one of our old friends, J.S., come by with big connections to the white boys that's got the whole show. And I'm out of retirement and moving big. One time, I told one of my partners, I was over his house, we grew up together. He was older than I was, though. He was big on the other side of town. And he was laying down on the couch watching TV, and I could see his head, a bald spot, like Joe Louis had in his day. This little bald spot. And he was a pimp. That's what he was. So he was telling me, well, at least I'm going to be able to keep me 1 or 2 holes just on game, if not on physical strength, on psychological game. So he said, well, what about you? How's everything? I said, man, if the white man let me go for 3 more weeks, it's all over. I've already bought a super shipment. And if they let me go 3 weeks to get rid of that shipment, it's all over. The whole show is over. So I turn on the record. I like right on time. It don't come when you want it, but it'd be right on time. And that happened. It happened over and over again. Enough to blow you out of the water or to blow them out of the water. Teach and operationalize a lesson of acres of diamonds. Anybody remember the story, Acres of Diamonds? Acres of Diamonds is I'll be quick. A guy in South Africa had a farm. I'm imagining South Africa. And he heard all these stories about people finding diamond mines, you know, and getting rich. So he sold his farm. And he went all around Africa searching for diamonds. Finally, I guess he's getting old. He maybe committed some type of suicide. It's two parallels to that story. But anyway, in this story, the guy that bought his farm, he had a friend that was some kind of geologist or something. And he came by his house and visited him. Hey, how you doing? So it was some rocks right there on the, you know, over the fireplace. It was a big rock there. Yeah, geologist. Do you know what this is? Yeah, it's a rock. The stream is full of them down there. The stream is full of these rocks. You know, because see, diamonds, everybody think diamonds is all shiny when they come out, but they're not. You got to polish them boys up. You got to get them. He said, this is the biggest diamond I've ever seen. So the guy, they went down to the stream, and at first, they opened a mine later, but at first, the water that washed all these pieces of rocks down, and they're picking up diamonds. That's why it's called Acres of Diamonds. It became the richest diamond deposit on the African continent. And the guy that owned it sold it, went around looking for diamonds everywhere, and he was on the biggest deposit. That lets us know everybody trying to scare us away from the Negro, trying to have Negroes mess with us all the time, and we say, I'm tired of the niggas, I'm going to go with somebody else. No, Acres of Diamonds. This is where it's at. We're not leaving the Negro. They can't run us off from the Negro. They can't scare us off from the Negro. Acres of diamonds. They're diamonds in the rough. Influence the direction of change. Ship of my life must be directed toward this. This is important. Implement the psychological strategy of inverse paranoia. Our oppressor is actually conspiring to help us. That's what inverse paranoia, everybody gets scared, white man won't do this, oh man, everybody out to get me. But you change it to inverse paranoia. Everything they doing it to help you. That's why we go back to Oakland when we get ready, because they're helping us out there. Everything they do is to help us. Why? One, because that's the way we see it. And then it becomes like that. The police, they doing all that dumb stuff, and after a while we say, man, they must be trying to help us. And now we're sure they're trying to help us. Because they're doing all this dumb stuff on record. They used to do it hidden and nobody see it but me. That's not fun. Because you can't tell nobody, well, boss man did this. Because pretty soon they like you, but they'll be thinking, brother's out there the way he's out there with Dick Gregory. Right? Yeah. But then, what do? You raise it up. to the level of visibility where you make injustice visible, where they can see it. Everything happens with us, they can see it. Okay. This attitude results in 20% of our thinking being spent on the problem and 80% being focused on the solution. Most people, when they do stuff to you, all you think about, they did this, they did that. Well, you have to think about that stuff sometimes. You can't be Pollyanna and say, there's nothing happening. But you spend 80% of your time on the future. That's the way our lectures are scheduled, just like that. We talk about the stuff that happened, but we talk about possibilities. To be written, our Declaration of Independence, People's Grand Jury from Oakland, D.C., with which we will indict the federal, state, and local governments on charges of general oppression and high crimes. Book of coincidences, all our writings, when we say this and when we say that, and it comes out, the book of coincidences mean that this is a lot of coincidences, and we're going to write a book on coincidences. Technically, the book is written, all we have to do is organize it. This happened, that happened. So you call it what you want. We call it a book of coincidences. Book of circumstances. You know, you can win a case on circumstantial evidence sometime. All those things are here, they're present, and we've been, the last thing before I close, I want to close with, this is evolution. These are titles of different parts of this lecture. This lecture is given at the University of Tehran. What do you think? Have you ever seen or heard of any Negro that have the front page of any newspaper in the world where, and they done translated his lecture into their language, and he's outlining the stages and the phases of organization and structure for where you want to go in your country. How you have to unify the parliament with the people and everything else, right? That's real. Now, what do you think Boss Man thinks about it? I got other pictures. What do you think he thinks about? I'm telling you about evolution. That's evolution. That means you got to stop thinking about me as a slick nigga back 50 years ago. Everybody thinks, man, I saw Big Hank yesterday. Big Hank's 50 damn years ago. I've had 50 years of experience. No, I haven't. I've had basically 500 years of experience. Y'all have had 50 years of experience since then. If I've had 10 times the experience with the government as y'all, I've learned 10 times as much. Think about it. So if we got Malcolm, we have to be 10 times ahead of Malcolm. This may be the crackpot lunch. Remember you wasn't here the other day when I had the crackpot lunch call. Let me see. Oh, okay. This is not that. Assalamu alaikum. Yes. I sure am. Just in the middle.
Oh, all right. Well,
okay.
Bye.
Anyway, let me change the subject for a minute. The other day we had the phone. I don't know if you was watching. We had the crackpot line open. Remember that?
Yeah.
And the niggas called. They called on I said the crackpot line is now open. So anybody wants to call, it wasn't 2 seconds. Ring, 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 ring. I didn't answer, but I looked at the number. I said, now, can you imagine? That's just having fun. You know what I mean? That's actually having fun. And we do that all the time. Imagine when you get things to the level where at first you are oppressed, and then you kind of get a little feel where you can have some influence over things. You ain't running nothing, but you got 10% of the stuff in your environment you can influence. Now, that's not bad, because if anybody look at their life, how much control do they have in their life? No more than 10%. They got to work. The white folks, they got to pay for this and pay for that. You know, they got to Pepco, everybody, right? So who controls their own life? Hardly nobody. If you control 10 or 15% of your own life, that's good. So at first you're oppressed. And then you start getting a little feel for things, and then as you move on, you start getting a little even with boss man. And pretty soon, remember, he does stuff to you, but you continue to evolve. He don't evolve because you can see out there the cars and stuff like that, or a hole in the roof. He can't evolve any further than that. He can't. Can you imagine? That's where he wants me to stay. That's 15, 20 years. That's I don't know how long. We don't even respond to that, but by laugh. Yeah, man. But when we was fixing your roof, you can see somebody pull the thing off. You can see it. So it ain't no big deal. You have to respond to it. That's where the 20% come in, right? But you don't spend your time focusing on that. That's your focus. And pretty soon, there's a type of liberation here where you can influence the direction of change with them. You can influence them. All these cases, all this stuff, that's what it is. We can influence. And we have, when we gave these lectures here, this is from, now close, April 28, 2011. Before that, April 16th, we gave the Hands Off Libya talk down in Texas. The Hands Off Libya was the one, there will be no Arab Spring, on and on. In fact, we had given that before here, because we gave that several times. It ain't gonna be no Arab Spring. But at this time, they're talking about it's gonna be an Arab Spring. In fact, on February 11th, they had something in Egypt, and they were saying it's just like in Iran, February 11th. And I told, you know, it was 79. I said, no, it ain't. It ain't gonna be that. It ain't that, you know. And then we went to explain what it's gonna do. So, but the white man, revolution from Egypt to the Americas, right? Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. Why are they talking about a revolution in Oakland? Do you see it when you drive it? You don't see it. What do they mean? That means the most dangerous Negro in the United States is there, and he's alive, and he's playing with us so much, right? That now, psychological guerrilla warfare is work. What do we say? Psychological guerrilla warfare, we're going to make the white man show himself and all this. That's what happened. We're going to make the agents show themselves, and they show themselves. It's just like we say, the crackpot line is open, and they call the crackpots, the real crackpots. Nobody else called on that line. Because it's true, it's a crackpot line. That's just having fun. Okay, I'm going to close with this. Now, there are people around the world that understand this, creating a new civilization of Islam. This right here is the highest person of our time, Dr. Khalid Siddiqui, the highest intellectual. He was the highest intellectual of our time. Dr. Khalid Siddiqui. He started what was called a non-territorial government in England and the UK. Non-territorial government. That means Masjid Islamiyya fi Britannica. They call it the Muslim Parliament. That means the Muslims in Britain at that time was running their own business, but they was not running the territory. That's a new concept. Non-territorial government. Suppose we had one here, where all the Muslims in America ran their own business, right? But they didn't run the territory. That means they ran all their business, collection and distribution of zakat and salah, all that stuff they did. Y'all see what Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui said about me, remember that? Okay. So, now everybody else on there, except the little white man in the corner from Edinburgh, Scotland, Yaqub Zaki, he's the only one on there that acted like he had some sense. Everybody else, he's the little white man from Edinburgh, Scotland. He's the one he's a historian. I mean, you talk about European history and this stuff. He got it down pat. So I asked him about William Wallace. I said, did you see the movie Braveheart? He said, no. I said, well, they had the Bruce doing that. And he said, well, it wasn't quite like that. And then he ran down, you know, basically what it was. But anyway, last time I seen him was in Cape Town. He was walking. One guy was walking with him in the front, and one guy was walking with me in the back. And he was ranting and raving against this crescent stuff. And I heard him, every word he said, but I wasn't ready to move. He was ready to move, or he was disgusted at it. But I didn't say nothing. I just pretended like I didn't hear him. That becomes, you have to have that ability to hear everything, but to implement it when you want. This is a message. Imam Jamil is your friend. He's in prison the rest of his life. This is Imam Musa. He's dead. Shot 18 or 21 times. Destroyed. And this is your dear brother here. This could be your uncle or your brother or whatever. And we're still here. You got to realize we're still here. We're still here. And it ain't no sweat. Eventually, we ask you to give boss man a pass, to look at him the way he is now, right? If you can look at me and keep me back 100 years ago, right?